Hello there, welcome to Field Study, an exploration of food and the landscape. Thistle. Sat straight on a thistle. Welcome back to a slightly more moody British landscape, where I'm going to be showing you 3 edible plants to look for now as summer gives way to autumn. Stay tuned. Well, what an end to the summer. So the drought was sort of punctuated by these massive downpours, sort of biblical thunderstorms that we've been having over the last week, and they have been insane. It's sort of like a end of season firework display. But yeah, so they've been really fun to watch. But I don't know if you can tell by the rate that the clouds are moving at right now, but it is so windy today. So I'm filming this in the lee of this massive hill on the top of the downs. But if you go further out that way or over that hill there, it's just way too windy. It's really messing with my audio. So I've come here and I'm trying to find the best plants that I can up in this beautiful bit of pastureland up here on the south of the Isle of Wight. So here we have the first plant that you can look out for, which is hawthorn. So this is hawthorn, and it's a shrub or tree that grows in hedgerows, exposed hilltops, and at this time of year it has these berries or drupes on it. Now they've got a rather interesting texture on the inside. So if you smush them open, you can see it's almost like avocado. So not what you'd be expecting from a berry that looks like this. What you're looking for is this sort of leaf shape on like a shrubby bush. It's a member of the rose family, and popular things to do with this are making fruit leather with it because it's high pectin content, or you can make something called hawthorn ketchup. So the fruit of the hawthorn is never going to win any awards when it comes to flavour, because it is just pulpy and it's slightly bitter, that sort of tomato skin bitteriness that you can get. So it's never going to win any awards like that. However, it is invaluable at this time of year and going on further into the winter as a medicinal thing. It's one of the 3 things that I always look out for at this time of year when cold and flu season is about to get underway. And that's because of its extremely high vitamin C content. So vitamin C is good for a healthy immune system and is one of many vitamins that can help us fight off colds and things. So when I'm out and about walking, when I'm exposing myself to cold temperatures and stuff, I will always pick some of these off of the tree and eat them that way. Therefore, I know that even though the cold might be depleting my immune system, my diet is boosting it up. So that's the way that I sort of self-medicate as I go along. And the hawthorn is one of the 3 cornerstone species that I sort of look out for when I'm foraging for medicinal things. So walking along up here on this beautiful patch of downland, the next wild edible that we come across is this, which is probably recognisable to most of you. It's the stinging nettle. So what's interesting is at this time of year, lots of the stinging nettles that you find on our hedgerows and stuff will have gone to seed. Now the leaves are no good to eat after they've gone to seed, so I'd avoid them. However, if you look in the corner of sheep fields and pasture land like this, if it's nice and clean, you'll find that what's happened is at the end of the summer, the sheep will have been released into the fields and they would have grazed off the tops of the nettle plants. And we've had a rainy spell recently after the drought. So these plants have just sprung back, and as you can see, there's all of this fresh new growth. So these are the same sort of nettle tops that you'd be getting in early spring, and they really are a delicious edible, and they're very good for you as well. Nettle is one of them plants that follows human beings around wherever we sort of disturb the earth anywhere on the face of the planet. So these really are sort of a worldwide food stuff. You can find reports of people eating these from here, North America, Asia, everywhere. Every sort of temperate climate has a sort of nettle eating culture, which is fascinating really, because we seem to have lost it in this country. Nettle soup becomes a thing which is, I don't know, something people experiment with once, or it's a food of famine times and times when we've been poor. But it really is delicious and can do a lot for you. The rain is coming in. So as expected, we're going to have squally showers all day today, which I absolutely love. This is my favourite time of year, really. I'm looking forward to more days being like this as we head on into late September, October. But for now, I'm going to take shelter in this beautiful hazel copse and wait for this one to pass. Woo! So whilst I'm here taking shelter, I might as well give you an interesting fact I found out about the stinging nettle. So in Norse mythology, the stinging nettle is attributed to the god of thunder, Thor. And during lightning storms, people used to burn stinging nettles on the hearth in their house in order to give themselves some protection and appease the god of the storm. So if this gets any worse, I might have to start burning some stinging nettles. Nah, should be right. This will blow over shortly, and then I can get on to showing you plant number 3, which is very exciting. So our third and final plant is this, the mighty oak tree. And we're here in this beautiful stand of ancient oaks that are clinging to the side of a very steep hill. And because of that, they're sort of stunted, like the ones at Wistman's Woods down on Dartmoor. But unlike Wistman's Woods, the understory here is preserved. So it's got much more atmosphere and there's much more life and wildlife about. Sun's coming out. At this time of year, we're looking for acorns. Now, the oak tree isn't seen as a food plant in this part of the world anymore. In southern Europe and in Greece, there are still acorn-eating traditions that are still alive. People grind it up and make it into flour. But if you look back across the archaeological record, all across the temperate zones in the world, people have eaten acorns. If you look in North America, southern Europe, the Baltic states, all the way through Russia, different species of oak tree have provided a staple diet for humanity. Now, a quick history lesson. Humans have only been eating cultivated cereal crops for the last 10% of our existence on planet Earth. So that means 90% of our existence and evolution on the face of the planet has been fueled, if you like, by other staple crops such as the acorn. It gets me thinking, with monocultures and cereal crops laying waste to entire ecosystems and failing now that the world is heating up with diseases ripping through them, is there scope for supplementing our diets with staple ingredients from old growth forests like this, which in turn will promote biodiversity? Oak trees in themselves have thousands of species that can only exist within the ecosystem of the oak tree. You have polypody ferns, you've got species of moth and beetle, you've got lichens that cling to the surface of them. It really is fascinating when you get down into the detail of it, how much life a single oak tree sustains. In turn, those insects and the entomological life brings more bird life. More bird life brings more seeds from other forests, which promotes understory. Understory promotes small mammals bring predators. And the ecosystem sort of generates itself from there. So this time of year we're interested in the acorns. So I don't actually have that many to show you here. These trees are old and this isn't a very productive year for them, I think, because where they're so high up, it's sort of stressed. But I'll be going into detail in how to prepare acorns for consumption and showing you a few methods over the next coming weeks. So collect your acorns off of the ground. The oak tree will shed them when they're sort of ripe and ready to go. It's best to double check every single acorn that you pick up because they do get grubs and stuff that like to burrow inside them, and the oak tree will shed these ones first. So at this time of year, late summer, it will usually shed quite a lot of these, and then later on in the season you'll get a better crop. But it is worth going through these now because there are some good ones there. So discard any ones which are blackened or brown like that, because those are from last year, so you can throw them away. and if you look here, you'll see a tiny hole there. So that is where a grub has got in there. So he would have started eating the nut already. So again, that one is not one that we want. So then these two here, you can see that that one is starting to blacken near the top. So again, that one has got something wrong with it. The cap doesn't detach from it that easily, so we can throw that one away. And then this one that we see here is sort of what you're after. So the cap should come away from it relatively easily. So acorns like this are good to go. So one last thing you can do to make sure your acorns are nice and fresh is to put them in a bucket or a glass of water, and any that float to the top, just throw them away, because they will probably have been eaten on the inside by a bug. So any that sink to the bottom, that is your harvest of acorns. So the acorn in its raw state isn't very palatable. There are records of people eating them raw. I think they must be absolutely mad, and that's because of the amount of tannin in here, which is that sort of mouth puckering dryness, which can be dangerous to your internal organs. So these need to be prepared before you eat them. So this is done by a process called leeching. So crack the outer shell of this open. You can use a rock, you can use a hammer, you can use a knife and be quite delicate with it, watch your fingers, but just open up this like you would any other nut, and on the inside you'll see the heart of the nut. If you halve that and then put it in a bucket, cover the hearts with water, and you'll see that they go like a murky colour. So this is the tannin coming out of the nut and into the water. So then stir that twice a day and change the water once a day. You'll know when they're done because they'll start to taste sweeter and not as bitter. So once you can't detect as much bitterness in the nut, then you know that they are good to eat in any way that you want. And in the next couple of weeks I'll be releasing a video on acorns and the things that you can do with them. So stay tuned for that. Right, well thanks for joining me on what was actually a rather difficult day to film, as you can imagine. If you enjoyed that, then hit the like button and hit subscribe for more foraging videos from this beautiful landscape. Take care.